Yes, so very good morning to all of you. Right, so just wanted to check if the audio video is all good and that also you have done a good job with your FRFM paper, right? So, and now the time has come to deal with the audit paper over there, right? So I know like you might have already started with your preparations yesterday for audit and then started looking into the syllabus and so एंड देन आइडेंटिफाइड कि अरे बाप रे ये भी रह गया ये भी एंड ऐसा है ना और अभी तो कुछ लोगों का ऐसे भी होगा कि मे बी ऑडिट हैज बीन रिटन अ फ्यू टाइम्स ऑल्सो सो यू नो इट्स लाइक सिंघम सिंघम 1 सिंघम 2 सिंघम अगेन or like Bhool Bhulaiya 1 2 3 4 it's like you know series after series or so but yes let us try to cover a few topics which can give you the right direction for preparation for audit. तो सबसे पहले तो लेट्स हैव अ लुक इनटू कि क्या क्या है सिलेबस में और क्या आपने कवर किया है एंड व्हाट इज इट दैट यू आर येट टू यू नो फोकस ऑन आल्सो ओके राइट सो प्लीज इफ एनीबडी कुड कंफर्म टू मी इफ द ऑडियो वीडियो इज ऑल गुड राइट I won't be paying much attention to the chat box as such because my priority is to do the maximum discussion with you. I'll be telling you the topics which also I'll be covering in the class for our discussion today. Yes, all good everyone. Let's begin. Right, is the audio absolutely clear? Okay, that's great. Okay, right. So one, we have the discussion of the 46 standards, right? We have the 46 engagement and the quality control standards, right? Out of that, 36 standards were applicable before the, you know, May 24 exams, but now 10 standards used. That is, you know, up to May 19, November 19, these standards were already there and then they were deleted and now they have re-entered into the syllabus. ऐसा एग्जाम में देखा गया है कि फ्रॉम दी 800 सीरीज 800 805 810 they are generally asking at least one question in the exam. Then from the SRE 2400 or 10 again one question seen from the review part in the paper. Then in the SAE 3400 3402 and the 3420 again generally one question seen in your exam and the SRS 4400 and the 4410 again one question seen in the exam. Right, so one thing that you can study on priority basis is that you can ensure to do the revision of these 10 standards. है ना तो एक ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि आप 200 वगैरह से शुरू करो बट आपने पहले ये 10 स्टैंडर्ड को कवर करना है दैट इज रिगार्डिंग दी special purpose framework, then the single financial statement, specific element, account or item. One of the important one over there is the engagement to report on the summary financial statements which requires the applied criteria, the criteria applied by the management for preparation of the summary financial statements. As an auditor, you need to check whether the applied criteria is it suitable. Right, then after that you have the review of the interim, yes, the review of the historical financial statements and the review of the interim financial information performed by an independent auditor of the entity. In an audit, we mainly have the 7 methods of obtaining audit evidence, ICAIORR, whereas in a review, we have mainly the 2 procedures to be followed, that is inquiry and analytical procedures. Right, then you have 3400 which is future, the examination of the prospective financial information. So prospective financial information is based on the assumptions. These assumptions could be best estimate assumptions or they could be the hypothetical assumptions. Best estimate assumptions, as an auditor, you need to check are they reasonable. Hypothetical assumptions, are they consistent. Again, auditor, you need to give a negative assurance, a moderate assurance in case of this examination engagement. Right, then 3402 is regarding the service auditor, assurance report on the controls at a service organization. Type 1 report, type 2 report, talking about the description, design and the operating effectiveness of the controls at the service organization. Right, so again a reasonable assurance. And then 3420, it is regarding the 3420. Yes, anybody, can you give me the answer? Fatafat. 3420, it is regarding the pro forma financial information, assurance engagement to report on the compilation of the pro forma financial information included in the prospectus. Right, so we have the unadjusted financial information plus the pro forma adjustment is equal to pro forma financial information. Right, then 4400, it is regarding the engagement to perform the IUP. What is IUP? Agreed upon procedures regarding the financial information. You give a report of factual finding, no assurance, neither an audit nor a review. And the last one, 441, important one, which is regarding the compilation engagement, wherein the CA is going to assist the management in the preparation of financial statements, and for that the CA is going to apply his accounting and financial reporting expertise. Right, so to assist management in the preparation of financial statements, and for that to apply the accounting and financial reporting expertise, again no assurance is given. Even in case of these special standards, does the auditor need to follow SQC? Yes, SQC always needs to be followed. Okay. Right, so one area that you need to cover in your studies today is that you need to look into these 10 standards, right? These 10 standards which have been reintroduced. Apart from that, some other standards that you could be covering is SA 240. Right, the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in an audit of the financial statements, wherein we say that primary responsibility for prevention, detection of fraud and error is of the management. Auditor's objective is to obtain the, yes, I'm able to hear you. Bolo, bolo. The auditor's objective is to obtain the reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Then we say fraud is more difficult to detect than an error. Management fraud is more difficult to detect than the employee fraud. As an auditor, you need to remain alert. You need to maintain the professional skepticism throughout the audit. And while doing the audit, chalte, as you do the audit, you encounter an exceptional circumstances that bring into question the auditor's ability to continue performing the audit. One auditor, you will determine your professional legal responsibility, and then you check, consider whether it is appropriate to withdraw from the engagement. If you decide to withdraw, one, the reasons for withdrawal, you communicate to the TCWG and also consider the professional legal requirement. Also for fraud, we need to consider the reporting under 143.12, duty to report the fraud to the central government, and second, the reporting under clause 11 of the CARO. Right, so SA 240, the auditor's responsibilities relating to fraud in an audit of the financial statements. What are the two types of fraud as per SA 240? Fraudulent financial reporting and the misappropriation of the assets. Okay. Right, then another important standard is the SA 250. What is 250? Consideration of laws and regulation in an audit of the financial statements. Again, compliance with laws and regulation, whose responsibility of the management. As an auditor, you have to obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence for those laws and regulations which have a direct effect, and perform specified audit procedures for the laws and regulation. Right? What are the other specified audit procedures? Inquiries of the management and the inspection of the correspondence with the regulatory authority. Then after you perform these procedures to check compliance with the law regulation, you may come across an instance of non-compliance with the law regulation. If you come across an instance of non-compliance, one, you will understand the of the non-compliance, the nature and the effect. Then what is the possible potential misstatement it could lead to? You may also take the legal advice, and finally evaluate the impact on the audit report. One of the favorite question of ICAI from SA 250 is regarding the indications of the non-compliance, wherein we say, all types of payments. Right? Indications of the non-compliance. So that is SA 250, consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of the financial statements. Okay, right. Then another important standard that we have is SA 505. What is 505? External confirmation. The direct written response to the auditor from the third party. It could be a positive confirmation or the negative. Negative only when the confirming party disagrees, it needs to reply. Positive whether the confirming party agrees or disagrees. In both cases, it needs to reply. Then we talk about situations when negative confirmations may be used. Right? We say when the inherent and control risk is low, when the balances are low, then substantial number of errors are not expected and the auditor has no reason to believe that the respondent will disregard these requests. Okay, right. Then positive confirmation request, if you mention the amount, there is a risk that the confirming party may reply without verifying. If you don't mention the amount, that is, you keep it as a blank confirmation request, this may lead to a lower response rate as additional effort is required on the part of the confirming party. Right. Then we talk about the management's refusal to allow the auditor to send a confirmation request. Okay, management is telling CA, please, debtor X, debtor Y, nahi, please don't send confirmation request. What do? Ask reasons to the management. Check for the validity and the reasonableness of the reasons given by the management. Then next, what you do? Consider the implication of the management's refusal on the auditor's assessment of fraud, including the risk of including RMM and the nature, timing and extent of the other audit procedures. And then ultimately you perform the alternative audit procedures to obtain the evidence. But still unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, then what to do? Communicate to management TCWG, and finally you need to modify your opinion as per SA 705. Right, so today your task is to check whether a particular question is asked. क्या मुझे इसका format click हो रहा है? Is the format in which the answer is to be written, is that coming to my mind? Do I have the confidence for solving the MCQ? Am I able to identify which chapter, which standard, which clause the question is related to? I know. So these are few areas, and as I'm discussing, if you want any particular topic or chapter to be also covered in this discussion, you can just put it in the chat box and keep. So if time permits, I would love to cover that also. Okay, right? So all good. Covering a few standards, then I'll cover a little bit of ethics and CARO, and then probably I would like to cover the ESG, SDG assurance, the emerging areas, and also a little bit of the DA, the digital auditing and assurance. All good? Feeling confident about audit? No panic situation. Anyways, it will lead to loss only if you panic. So better than that, you stay composed and you do an effective, whatever time is in your hand, you make the best out of it. Okay, yeah, SPC 1 and SA 200. Oh my God, I thought you probably want to write down 220. Okay, important external points in PE. What do you mean by external points? If you could elaborate, but yeah, the clauses in PE. Okay. Yes, Navya, I'll do that. Yes, so all the names that I see here later on, I want to receive these names in the mail or, in the passing list of the ICAI. Okay, right. So SA 505, which is regarding the external confirmations. Then apart from that, we have another important standard, one of the most important standard over there, which is SA 570, which is regarding the going concern, a fundamental accounting assumption used by the management in the preparation of the financial statement. Generally, every exam going concern ka question hota hi hai. General. Okay, right. So as per SA 570, this is the opening line which you have to write down in your answer. As per SA 570, going concern, it is the responsibility of the auditor, yes, to obtain what? Sufficient appropriate audit evidence about the appropriateness. Oh my God, amazing. Appropriateness of the management's use of the going concern assumption in the preparation of the financial statements, and to conclude whether based on the evidence obtained any material uncertainty exists due to events or conditions which may cast a significant doubt regarding the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Once again, everybody, please tell me the objective of SA 570. As per SA 570, going concern, it is the responsibility of the auditor to obtain a sufficient appropriate audit evidence about the appropriateness of the management's use of the going concern assumption in the preparation of financial statements, and to conclude based on the audit evidence obtained whether any material uncertainty exists due to events or conditions which may cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So whenever there is a material uncertainty, you have to perform the additional procedures which are giving rise to a significant doubt. Like if management has not yet done the assessment, you request the management to do the assessment. Then after that, you check for the management plans. Based on the management plans, they would have prepared a forecast. For the forecast, you check the data and the assumption. Then you check for additional facts and information beyond the period of management's assessment. And finally, you obtain the written representation from the management regarding their plans and the feasibility of the plans of the management. Again, a very important point over there is going concern and the audit report. One, going concern assumption is inappropriate. What to do? Adverse opinion. Financial statements are not true and fair. Going concern assumption is appropriate, but a material uncertainty exists. Management has given the adequate disclosures in the financial statements. Unmodified opinion with the MUGC. What is MUGC? Material uncertainty related to the going concern paragraphs. Okay. Right. Second one, material uncertainty exists. Adequate disclosures have not been given by the management in the financial statements. Qualified opinion or the adverse opinion. And third one, management is unwilling to do the assessment regarding the going concern. Auditor, you have to consider the implications on the audit report. What could be the implications on the audit report? It might lead to qualified or disclaimer of opinion. So whenever a case study regarding going concern is seen in your exams, one, you have to write down the objectives. Then after the objective in the given case, then you check that whether going concern assumption is appropriate or inappropriate. If it is inappropriate, straight away adverse opinion. If it is appropriate but there is a material uncertainty, then check whether management has given the adequate disclosures or no adequate disclosures are given, or management is unwilling to do the assessment regarding the going concern. Right, so that is one important area for the standard questions, that is essay 570 going concern. Then after that we have the essay 600 using the work of the another auditor. Right, so the parent company auditor, principal auditor, does he need to determine materiality? Yes, principal auditor, one, you will determine the materiality for the group as a whole. Right, one, you will determine the materiality for the group as a whole. Second, you will determine the materiality for each component. Third, you will determine whether any particular component is not material to the group. Right, so 3 points regarding materiality. One, principal auditor, parent company auditor, head office auditor, you will determine the materiality for the group. Then you will also determine the materiality for each component. Then also you need to consider whether any component is not material to the group, and then also obtain the confirmation from all the component auditors regarding the independence, confirmation regarding that they have complied with the requirement of independence, code of ethics, and so. And parent company auditor, principal auditor, when you are considering the observations in the branch auditor's report, other auditor's report, will you apply the concept of materiality? Yes. Right, so that is one favorite question from the essay 600 using the work of another auditor. Then essay 610. So some of you listening to me right now, it might be a little overwhelming, but at least इतना ऐसे सोचो कि at least एक overview मिल रहा है ना, कि क्या क्या cover करना है, कौन से topics पढ़ना है. So always if you are in the complaining mode, always in the opinion forming mode, then study becomes difficult. Nobody can help you in that case. Right? So yeah, just take it in the positive spirit and try to get the gist of whatever I'm trying to discuss over here. Right, essay 610 using the work of the internal auditor. Can statutory auditor take direct assistance from the internal auditor? Yes, statutory auditor Now, as per SA 610, are you allowed to take the direct assistance from the internal auditor? Yes, but for that direct assistance, one, you need to check how much is the amount of the judgment involved, how much is the RMM, and what is the objectivity and the competence of the internal auditor. Yes, based on this, statutory auditor, you will decide whether to take the direct assistance from the internal auditor. Why? Because if we say there is judgment, more than limited judgment, no taking direct assistance. If there is higher assessed RMM, no taking direct assistance. There is no objectivity, no competence of the internal auditor, no taking the direct assistance. Right, so what are the areas where no direct assistance can be taken from the internal auditor? One, we say where there is the significant judgment. Significant judgment, like for checking for the sufficiency of tests, the adequacy of the disclosures, going concern, accounting estimates. It says for those matters, no direct assistance to be taken. At significant judgment, when it's a higher assessed RMM, no direct assistance. Then relate to work which has already been done by the internal auditor or the decision which the external auditor has made in accordance with this test. He has doubts regarding the objectivity and the competence of the internal auditor, then again no taking the direct assistance from the internal auditor. Right, so when you can decide to take direct assistance and when no direct assistance is to be taken from the internal auditor. Okay, right. Then SC 620 is regarding using the work of an auditor's expert. So one, you have to evaluate the expert. For that, you need to look into the CCO, right? The competence, the capability, and the objectivity of the auditor's expert. The competence, whether they are the members of the relevant professional bodies. Capability to put competence into action, and then also the objectivity of the auditor's expert. Right, and then once you evaluate the expert, you have to evaluate the work of the expert. How do you evaluate the work of the expert? That findings and conclusions, are they consistent with the other evidence available? Then the relevance and reasonableness of the assumptions and methods being used by the expert. And finally, we have the relevance, accuracy, and the completeness of the source data being used by the expert. Right, so findings and conclusions, assumptions and methods, and source data. And then you say, oh my God, the work of this expert is not adequate. What you do? Tell the expert to do the further work, or you do the further work. You say, unable to obtain evidence. What to do? 705. And a qualified opinion or the disclaimer of the opinion. Okay. Special points in 611. Okay, so you want me to cover the special points under 611? We'll try to go through those. Okay. Right, so 620, using the work of an auditor's expert. Okay, right. Then one thing which you need to also do in your one day before exam is thoda drafting ka practice karo, ya at least questions dekho related to 705. And a qualified basis for qualified opinion, adverse opinion, basis for adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion, basis for disclaimer of opinion. In group audit chapter also you will find these drafting questions, and in the 700 question bank also you will find these drafting questions over there. Right, so one for 705 is the drafting. Drafting of these paragraphs. See, one is like you should know when to issue qualified, when adverse, when disclaimer. वो एक है. फिर एक बार decide हो गया, a qualified, adverse, disclaimer is to be given. In the exam, the questions that they are asking are regarding the drafting part. Right? So please, on priority, you ensure that you have covered these drafting questions also. Okay. Right. Then 701, communicating the audit matters in the independent audit report. So one of the important question over there is regarding how do you determine that a particular matter is a key audit matter. Right? So one, we say where there is the significant risk. Second, where there is significant auditor judgment, or it's a significant event or transaction that took place during the period. Right? So determining key audit matters. How do you determine where there is significant risk, significant auditor judgment, or significant event or transaction, like some IPO during the year, right, or some capitalization during the year. So significant event or transaction. Right, then sometimes the क्वेश्चन है, इट इज रिगार्डिंग दी आईटी सिस्टम, और कंपनी का आईटी सिस्टम देखने में तुम्हारी जान निकल गई. Now, this is not related to financial statement, but still can it come as a key audit matter? Yes, it can still come as a key audit matter because it could be a matter of the most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the current period. Right? It could be a matter of the most significance of the financial statements of the current period. Drafting for 570, I already discussed that, Akshay, right? So I've already said that first you write down the objectives of SA 570, then in the given case, and then towards the end you write down the conclusion, right? Towards the end you write down the conclusion. Okay, right. So, let's take a move towards ethics. I'll come back to the other standards also, the 800 and all of that. But no, 550. ऐसे तो मेरा मन बोलता है कि चलो भी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं कि related party relationships, transactions identified, disclosed, subsequent events, not 2 hours but 12 hours of revision I take with you. But no, it doesn't work that way. I have to give you time to prepare for yourself also. Right. So right now, come to ethics. Okay, ethics. Look at May 24. The type of questions they've asked. Okay, ऐसे तो you should not disclose the secrets of the client. But when are you allowed to disclose the secrets of the client, and what care you have to take in that communication? And then they ask the question regarding the difference between NOCLAR and SA 250. And then they asked a question that you are a CA in practice and now you're being appointed as a secretary, and that appointment is not on salary from full-time basis. Is that okay? So you say yes, that appointment is okay, because in addition to CA in practice, you can also act as a secretary on a contract basis but not on an employment basis. And as you look at ICAI, like you study those particular 611, 811, 612 and all of those. Or इनका तो मतलब ऐसे ढूंढ के ऐसे मतलब it's literally from a treasure, they find out one hidden gem of a question from there. Okay, right. So yeah, certainly ethics is one of the most important part of your syllabus. So one question comes from section 224 and are deemed to be in practice. What do we say? A member of the institute shall be deemed to be in practice when individually or in partnership with other CAs in practice or members of such other profession as may be prescribed, he in consideration of remuneration received or to be received. Other services, as in the opinion of the council, may be rendered by a CA in practice. And we say the term other services includes the management consultancy and other services. And management consultancy and other services includes the following. Right, so like financial management planning, personnel recruitment selection. Can a CA act as a broker underwriter, or can he provide the portfolio management services? No. Broking, underwriting, portfolio services not allowed, but acting as an advisor, consultant to an issue allowed. Advice regarding selection of brokers allowed. Pre-issue, post-issue activities allowed, but broking, underwriting, portfolio management services are not allowed. Okay, right? So section 224, members who are deemed to be in practice. Okay, right? One student has mentioned about the recent decisions of the ethical standard board, right? So if we go to the ICAI website, in case if time permits you, right, what you can do when you go to the ICAI website, right, here you get to read these recent decisions of the ethical standard board. Right, so I, recently I attended one particular global ethics day seminar of the, and very interestingly, it said over there, okay, as a CA in practice, you can be an amateur athlete, but you cannot be a professional athlete. Right, so that is something so interesting. A member in practice may be a mature athlete. However, it is not permissible for him to be a professional athlete. Okay, right. So likewise, if you see in this list over here, you see the entire list of the recent decisions. So this is mainly in relation to your clause 11 of the part 1 of your first schedule. And okay, permission granted generally and specific and prior permission of the council to be taken in each case. Right? So it says a chartered accountant cannot exercise lien over the client document for non-payment of fees. It's again, this was one of the questions which we had asked in the MCQ. A chartered accountant cannot become financial advisor and receive fees from financial institutions such as mutual fund. It is permissible for a CA in practice to be a settler of a trust. He cannot hold a customs broker license. Right? So what is allowed and what is not allowed. Okay, right. So anyways, I talked about section 2 to 4, and then after that we have another important section which is regarding the section 27, maintenance of the branch offices. And what is the golden rule? That each office of a CA should be under the, yes, I'm able to hear you. अरे तुम्हारी आवाज मेरे पास आ रही है, तुम भरोसा रखो मुझ पे. Right? What does it say? Recent decision. Yes, what does it say? Separate charge of a member of the institute. Right? That each office of a CA should be under the separate charge of a member of the institute. However, separate charge is not required. One, if the second office is located in the same city or in the same accommodation, or if it is located within 50 kilometers from the municipal limits of the city in which the first office is located. Okay. And then second exemption is for the chartered accountants practicing in the hilly areas. They can have a temporary office in the plain areas not exceeding more than 3 months in a year. Okay. Right. So that is regarding the section 2 to 4. Other services, and regarding section 27, which is regarding the maintenance of the branch offices. And now let us come to the discussion regarding the clauses of ethics. Can anybody fatafat tell me how many clauses are there in ethics? How many clauses? You say, ma'am, one day before exam, what question you are asking? Ma'am, that much so we know. Yeah, right? November 24 clauses in ethics. Why, ma'am, you're saying November 24 like that? May 25, is there going to be a change? Yes? But straight, Re Baba, one day before exam, ऐसे नहीं बैठने का, सीधा बैठने का. Okay, yes, 26, oh no, Vivek. Yes, how many clauses in ethics? 34 clauses of ethics, okay, up to number 24. Yes, exactly. And then after that, May 25 onwards, they've added one more, 522. 422, default case embezzles money received in professional capacity. उसके बाद अब एक और ऐड कर दिया. A member in practice shall be deemed to be guilty if he acts as an auditor of a company in contravention of the provisions of the Companies Act. Okay. Anyways, I'm very excited to discuss this, but not with you. I'll discuss it with the May 25 students. But with you, I want to discuss these 34 clauses of the ethics. Okay. Right. So 34. The new one that has come is 522. Right. So anyways, right now let us talk about the 34 clauses. 19 clauses in the first schedule and 15 clauses in the second schedule. Later on it will become now 16. Okay, but right now 15 clauses in the second schedule. One, let us talk about the other misconduct. Right. So other misconduct is given under the part 4 of the first schedule, and it is given under the part 3 of the second schedule. Right. Part 3 of the second schedule. Part 4 of the first schedule, clause 1, part 4 first schedule, imprisonment up to 6 months. And then clause 1, part 3 second schedule, imprisonment for more than 6 months. And very important clause over there is 241. And a 5-star, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Clause 2, part 4 first schedule. In the opinion, कैसे लिखना है? A chartered accountant in practice or not shall be deemed to be guilty of other misconduct if he, in the opinion of the council, brings disrepute to the profession or to the institute as a result of his action, whether or not related to his professional work. A CA is expected to maintain the highest standards of integrity in his professional work. And any non-professional attitude, even in his non-professional work, would expose him to the disciplinary action. Right? A CA is expected to maintain the highest standards of the degree of the professional attitude. Right? So that is disrepute. What are the examples of other misconduct? CA retains the books of account of the client and fails to return without a reasonable cause. Right? CA makes a material misrepresentation. CA does not reply to the letter of the public authorities. CA uses the services of article for other than professional practice. CA income tax assessment records were found in the almirah of the home of the CA. What does it say? Guilty of other misconduct. You are bringing the disrepute to the profession. Right. Then after that, we have the clauses related to the ICAI. Okay, you're not a fellow member, but you're telling everybody, I am a fellow member of the ICAI, guilty of professional misconduct under 131. Not being a fellow acts as a fellow member of the institute. Then, institute is asking me for information and I do not supply the information called for, or I do not comply with the requirements asked for by ICAI, disciplinary committee, quality review board, the appellate authority, the director discipline, any of the functionaries of the ICAI guilty of professional misconduct under 231. Then does not comply with the provisions of the act, the regulations made thereunder, the guidelines issued by the council, guilty of professional misconduct under 122. Clause 1, part 2, second schedule. Like I'm allowed to do 60 tax audit assignment, I accepted 65. Right? Then I'm guilty of professional misconduct under 122. I'm allowed to take 10 articles, I took 12 articles. So what is that? Contravenes any of the provisions of the act, regulations made there under, or the guidelines issued by the council. CA is not maintaining proper books of account including cash book ledger. Where out? 122. CA exceeding stat audit fee. Where guilty? 122. Any notification, any guideline, any provision of the act not followed. Where out? 122. And in any information form, return or statement to be submitted to ICAI and or its functionaries provides particulars knowing them to be false, then guilty of professional misconduct under 322. I hope you understand what is 322. Clause 3 of part 2, Roman 2 of second schedule. Second, I will write down the spelling of second schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1943. Right, so instead कुछ भी question दिखा, so these are the clauses where you need to search for the answer. He is not a fellow, but he's telling everybody I am a fellow. He is not giving the information to ICAI, not complying with the provisions, regulation, guideline, or giving the false particulars to the ICAI. Right, giving the false particulars to the ICAI. Right. Can anybody tell me, if a question comes regarding the goodwill on the death of the sole proprietor, which clause of ethics do I need to refer to? The sale of the goodwill on the death of the sole proprietor. The widow sold the goodwill. It is nothing but the sale of business is nothing but the sale of goodwill. Even the right to use the firm name can be sold. Yes. Yes, goodwill. Which clause of ethics do you refer to over there? Clause of part 1 of the first schedule. Pays or allows or agrees to pay or allow directly or indirectly. Wonderful. Any share, commission or brokerage. Okay. Right. Now coming to 611. What is 611? Clause 6 part 1 of the first schedule. What is clause 6 of the part 1 of the first schedule? It says solicits. Right, client or professional work directly or indirectly by CAPIB, circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview or by any other means, provided that nothing contained herein shall be construed as preventing or prohibiting a CA from applying, requesting, inviting, securing professional work from another CA in practice or responding to tenders or inquiries issued by various users of professional services from time to time and getting the professional work as a consequence. It's solicits client asking and a monkey and a solicits client of professional work directly or indirectly by circular, advertisement, personal communication, interview or by any other means. But what is allowed? Asking for work within the fraternity allowed. Responding to tender inquiry allowed. But tender inquiry, what do we say? Whether that tender inquiry, is it exclusively only for CA or is it also for the other professional? If it is for the other professional, then CA you can respond to any tender inquiry. If it is exclusively for CA, then you need to check whether the minimum fees, have they been prescribed in the tender document itself? Yes, then CA you can to the tender inquiry. If minimum fees have not been prescribed, then CA you should not respond. If you still respond, then you will be guilty of professional misconduct. Right? Then you will be guilty. But if it is open for other professionals also, then do you need to check for the minimum fee clause? No, that question is there in your RTP number 24 also. If minimum fee has to be checked when it is only for CA. If it is open for other professionals along with CA, then no need to check for the minimum fee. Then CA you can respond to any tender inquiry. Okay, क्यों बोला है कि not to ask for work, not to solicit? It says such a restraint has been put on the members of the profession so that they maintain their independence of judgment and may be able to command the respect from their prospective clients. Right? So that is why the restriction has been put. So जब एग्जाम में ethics का question आएगा, तो first you will write down as per clause dash of part dash of dash schedule to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, to the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. A chartered accountant in practice or in service shall be deemed to be guilty, है ना? Or shall be deemed to be guilty of professional, you are going to write full words in the exam, professional misconduct or other misconduct if he, and then you will write down the contents of the clause. Then after that you will write down the why this clause has been introduced by ICAI. You will write down some masala, some justification, something that the council has said regarding this clause. Then you will write down in the given case, you know what is given in the question in active voice, you will now convert it to the passive voice. And then finally, fourth part of your answer is going to be regarding the conclusion. And therefore, CAR is guilty, not guilty, then board of disciplinary committee, what action they can take against the member. So what are the four parts of your answer? Part 1, clause. Part 2, the masala, the council, whatever extra spice you have regarding that particular clause. Then third one, in the given case, and then fourth part is going to be the conclusion. Okay, right? So that is clause 6 of the part 1 of the first schedule. What does it say? Solicit client or professional work. Right. Then 711, add professional attainments or services, or uses designation or expression other than that of CA on a professional document such as letterhead, signboard, visiting card, unless it be a degree of university, or it is recognized by central government like insolvency professional, or it is recognized by the ICAI, or it is recognized by the council also, central government. And can a member advertise through a write-up? Yes, he can advertise through a write-up. Right? Then clause 811 is regarding the NOC. If he accepts appointment as an auditor previously held by another chartered accountant without first communicating with him in writing. Right? So here we have a lot of nitty-gritties. Request for NOC, it's to be sent by hand against written acknowledgement or by RPAD, or it is to be sent on the email address, last known email address, or the email address which is registered with the institute, or a UDIN could be generated for the same. Right? So that there is positive evidence regarding the delivery of the communication. What if the premises were found locked? Deemed to be delivered. What if the firm is not found at the registered address? Again, deemed to be delivered. Is NOC required for all types of audit where previous auditor is a CA? Yes. Not CA, it says it's a healthy practice to communicate. Right? Then undercutting of fees, is it guilty of professional misconduct? No, undercutting of fees is not guilty of the professional misconduct. Okay, right? So that is 811. Right? Then 911 accepts appointment as an auditor. What does it say? Without ascertaining the compliance of section 139 and 140. Right? Then 1011, it is regarding the percentage contingent basis. Right? If he charges or offers to charge, accepts or offers to accept in respect of his professional employment, any fees which are based on percentage of profits or which are contingent upon the results of his findings or of such employment, except as permitted under the regulations under the Act. What is permitted under the regulations under the Act? Receiver liquidator, percentage basis allowed. Auditor of a cooperative society, percentage basis. Valuer for direct taxes and duties, percentage basis allowed. Percentage of property value. Certain management consultancy services, certain fundraising services, debt recovery services, cost optimization service, and any other service or audit. What comes under any other service or audit? Acting as IP, insolvency professional, or NANA, non-assurance services to the non-audit client. There it says percentage basis will be allowed. Right, so that is 10.1.1. Then 11.1.1 is regarding the permission. Engages in any other business or occupation other than the profession of chartered accountancy. You know, the most beautiful business in life is MYOB. What is MYOB? Mind your own business. But this CA, rather than minding the own business, is managing all other businesses. And so engages in any other business or occupation other than the profession of chartered accountancy unless permitted by the council so to engage. And a favorite question I see है यहाँ पे कि CA is trading in commodity derivatives. Is the CA in practice allowed to trade in commodity derivatives? Yes or no? Is permission required or no permission required? And they say CA Prabhu, उसका नाम change करते रहते हैं. They keep on saying some CA is trading in commodity derivative. He resides in Bangalore near to the commodity stock exchange. Every day, 50% of his time he is spending in dealing in commodity transaction. Is the CA guilty of professional misconduct? Yes, the CA is guilty of professional misconduct because trading in commodity derivative is not given under the list of general permission. That means specific permission of the institute is required to be taken. That is why CA is going to be guilty of professional misconduct. CA is owning agricultural land and carrying out agricultural activity. Permission granted generally. CA is big, there's CA Ritu. She is very much interested in cooking and that is why she authored a book called as Delight Your Tummy. Is authorship of books and articles allowed? Yes. Yes, permission granted generally. Editorship of other than professional journals? No. Specific permission is required to be taken. Right, so here we need to know the list of permission granted generally and where the specific prior approval of the council is required to be taken in each case. Right, 12.1.1 is regarding signing. Then, okay, the task of signing the deliverables cannot be delegated, but routine documents and a routine work, can that task of signing be delegated? Yes, routine documents, that task of signing can be delegated. Right, so that's mainly our discussion regarding the part 1 of the first schedule. Then coming to part 1 of the second schedule. What is part 1 of the second schedule? 112. Clause 1, Part 1, second schedule, breach of confidentiality CA in practice. And now what does it say? Discloses information acquired in the course of his professional engagement to any person other than the client. So engaging him or unless required by any law for the time being enforced, right? So breach of confidentiality CA in practice 112, right? Then after that 312, if the CA just for the accuracy of the forecast, guilty of professional misconduct under 312. Right, nowadays a lot of questions coming in the exam from the 412. This clause 4 part 1 second schedule. What is clause 4 part 1 second schedule? Substantial interest. Expresses his opinion on the financial statements of any business or enterprise where he, his partner, his firm, his relative as per AS 18 and AS 24 has the substantial interest. Right, so expressing opinion on financial statements where substantial interest is involved, not allowed, but information system work allowed. And information system, operating system work related to the employer, that will be allowed. Right, so if I am a lecturer in a college, can I do the audit of that college? No. But can I do the information system work related to that college? Yes. Can I do the information system work related to that college? Yes. I am a director in a company. Can I do the audit of that company? No. I was a director in a company, then cooling period of 2 years. After that, I can do the audit of a company. I am a statutory auditor. Can I be appointed as internal auditor? No. And because substantial interest, it says Statutory auditor, you cannot be appointed as the internal auditor. Can internal auditor be appointed as tax auditor? Right, so that is substantial interest. Okay, right, then 512, all are provident fund questions. You remember provident fund? Loan is being given out of the PF trust to the employer company, and the auditor gave this information in the confidential report to the trustees, but he did not give this information to the beneficiaries, the subscribers of PF trust. What did we say? What did we say? Fails to disclose the material fact. इतनी बड़ी बात छुपाई तुमने. Fails to disclose a material fact known to him, which is not disclosed in the financial statements, but disclosure of it is necessary in the financial statements, where he is concerned with such financial statements in a professional capacity. Right, so 512 fails to disclose a material fact. 612 fails to report a material misstatement. 712 कि तेरा ध्यान किधर है, कि तेरा हीरो इधर है. ध्यान किधर है मतलब grossly negligent, does not exercise due diligence, or is grossly negligent in the conduct of his professional duties. And a CA inventory verification relied on the photographs. CA adopted arbitrary valuation of closing stock. CA allowed somebody to sign the signature on his behalf. CA did not submit the audit report on time. It says gone. This CA is not having PCDC. No professional competence and due care, grossly negligent. And does not exercise due diligence, or is grossly negligent in the conduct of professional duty. CA certified periodical magazine without checking. 812 fails to obtain sufficient information. CA did not mention UDIN in the report. CA does not have a valid peer review certificate when he has to issue the audit report of a listed company. 912 fails to invite attention to material departure from the generally accepted audit procedure applicable to the circumstances. And fails to invite attention to material departure from the gap, generally accepted audit procedure applicable, and fails to keep monies belonging to a client other than fees or remuneration in a separate banking account, or to use such money for the purposes intended by the client. Right? So you don't keep the money of the client in a separate bank account. You don't use it for the purposes intended by the client. Guilty. But fees, remuneration, no need to keep in a separate bank account. Advance fee, no need to keep it in a separate bank account. If the money is to be used within a reasonable time, again, no need to keep it in a separate banking account. Right? So that is 10.1.2. Right, and then I've already discussed the ICAI clauses and all with you. Right, so then apart from that, we also have the discussion regarding the no-clar. Right, so in ethics, another important discussion is regarding the no-clar. What is no-clar? It is the omission or commission, intention or unintentional, which is contrary to the prevailing laws and regulations, which could be done by the client or by the employing organization, because it is applicable for CA in practice also, as well as CA in service. CA in service, who is the senior professional accountants of the listed entity, right? Senior professional accountants of the entity, right? So directors of the company, managers of the company, and so. Right? So we talk about the examples of no-clar, then difference between no-clar and SA 250. Obviously, no-clar is wider in scope. Right? No-clar is wider in scope as compared to 250. No-clar in exceptional circumstances, you can also directly communicate to the appropriate authority. Right? Then we also say responding to no-clar. So auditor, if you come across auditor or the employee, if you come across the matter, first you understand the matter, you address the matter, you seek the legal advice. Right? Then you determine what appropriate action is needed. Where you check whether it is leading to any imminent breach, something which is about to happen, and you need to also have the proper documentation. Right? Also have the proper documentation. Right? So that is where you first study the format. Apart from for the format for the answers, then after that you also look into the second schedule, the important clauses over there, like the 512, 412. Yes, the 912, right? Then also the first schedule, and you also study the questions regarding the no-clar. Anybody? Any other question regarding ethics? Are you able to sustain with me? right? Competitive exam, okay? Yes, all good. जा रहा है? Obviously, आज तो दिमाग में जाएगा. Today, whatever I say is going to be acceptable. Some other day, 1 month before exam, I would have taken a class like this. They would say, "Oh my God." So, man, today also we are saying, "Oh my God" only. Okay. Yes. Your God will. Let's be very happy if you are having this patience to, prepare for your forthcoming, just few hours away from the exam paper of audit and a matter of 3 hours of writing over there. Yes, let's quickly revise CARO and then after that move on to the other chapters and the standards. Is it going fine, everyone? Right, because you're giving me the most precious time of your life right now, the most precious, it's the exam, it's a big deal to take your time away. Okay, right, so is the voice okay? So, how to handle tough paper? Okay, so how to handle tough paper, audit paper? Yeah, so you have to write the content of the syllabus, whatever you know. Don't try to be question specific. Don't try to address, मतलब वो question को ही passive voice में convert करते जाओ, ऐसा नहीं करना है. कि ये क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड पार्टीज का है तो व्हाटएवर कंटेंट ऑफ एसए 550 that you write in the exam. Once you come to know this question is regarding fraud, then don't try to address the case scenario given over there. Whatever content of 240 that you try to write in the exam. So that will be a more correct approach for the paper. Right, one student has asked, Aditi has asked regarding 540. Yeah, so nowadays lot of questions coming in the exam from the 540, which is regarding the auditing of the accounting estimates, including the fair value accounting estimates and the related disclosure. Whenever you have to audit an accounting estimate, one, you need to check whether these accounting estimates are they reasonable, and you have to check whether there is any estimation uncertainty, how management has addressed the estimation uncertainty. Then you also need to check the assumptions made by the management in the calculation of the estimates. Are those assumptions reasonable? And you also need to check whether there are any indicators of the management bias, right? Whether there are any indicators of the management bias. Right, so estimates, are they reasonable? Then how management has addressed the estimation uncertainty. Then whether the assumptions are reasonable, yes, which have been made by the management, and also whether there are any indicators of the management bias. Right, you have the questions over there of high estimation uncertainty, low estimation uncertainty, the nature of assumption, and also what representations you will take from the management. Okay, right, so please cover the newly added chapters. Okay, so we'll try to cover as much as possible. So I hope the audio is all good now. That is so if you would ask me what should be your plan for today, right? So what you do, RTP November 24, then MTP November 24, the series 1, series 2 suggested May 24, and then similar to this you also go through the May 24. So then that will give you a hang. Because ultimately I study thousands of questions, some 35 questions including MCQ are going to come in the exam. So I better work on my problem solving skills than trying to cover more and more of the same. Okay, anyways, let us quickly talk about the CARO. Right, so CARO, one we study regarding the applicability of the CARO. That CARO shall apply to every company, including a foreign company, except right, private limited company, not being a holding or a subsidiary of a public company, and paid up share capital reserves and surplus not exceeding 1 crore. Total borrowings from bank financial institution not exceeding 1 crore, and total revenue as disclosed in Schedule 3 does not exceed the 10 crore. And then one person company, small company, Section 8 company, insurance company, and the banking company, to them CARO is never applicable. And once we study the applicability of the CARO, then we have the 21 clauses of the CARO. Right, so what are the 21 clauses of the CARO? Let us randomly pick up a few clauses over there, like say clause 8. Can anybody quickly tell me what is clause 8? Fatapat. This clause 8 of the CARO. Yes, 1 CR, 1 CR, 10 CR. Good job. Okay. MPP RTP is a separate video for May, November 24. Okay, so let me see if in the rest of the day I could do that. Okay. Right. Clause 8 of the CARO. Yes, it is regarding Clause 1, property, plant, equipment, and tangible assets. Clause 2, inventory, working capital. 3, LIGS. 4, LIGS. 5, public deposits. 6, cost records. 7, statutory dues. 8, undisclosed income. Good job. Undisclosed income. What does it say? That transactions are not recorded in the books of account, have been surrendered or disclosed as income during the tax assessments under the income tax law, whether the previously recorded income has it now been properly recorded in the books of account. And transactions not recorded in the books of account, 100 crore income, has now been surrendered or disclosed as income during the tax assessments under the income tax law, whether the previously recorded income has it now been properly recorded in the books of account. Okay, what is clause 2B of the CARO? Clause 2B, whether at any point of time during the year the company has been sanctioned working capital limit in excess of 5 crore on the basis of security of the current assets, then whether the quarterly return statement submitted to the bank financial institution are they in agreement with the books of account. Amazing. And now that is clause 2B of the CARO. What is clause 1D of the CARO? Yes, clause 1D of the CARO, whether any property, plant, equipment, including right of use assets or intangible assets or both have been revalued during the year, then whether the revaluation has been done by a registered valuer, what is the amount of change, and if the changes of 10% or more for each class of property, plant, equipment or the intangible assets. Okay, what is clause 1E of the CARO? 1E, yes, whether any 1E of the CARO, whether any things have been initiated or are pending against the company for holding any Benami property under the Prohibition of Benami Transaction Act, whether the details have been disclosed in the financial statements, whether the details have been disclosed in the financial statements. Okay, what is clause 17 of CARO? Clause 17, cash losses, whether the company has incurred cash losses in the financial year and in the immediately preceding financial year. Okay, right. Then after that, clause 18, whether there has been any resignation of the auditors during the year, whether the auditor has taken into consideration the IOC. What is IOC? The issues, objections and concerns raised by the outgoing auditor. Right? The issues, objections and concerns raised by the outgoing auditor. Clause 19 always comes along with SA 570 ka case study. What is clause 19? Fatafat. What is clause 19? Yes, Dipanshu, quick answer I want. Material uncertainty regarding the ability to meet the liabilities on the basis of the financial ratios, aging and expected date of realization of financial assets and the payment of the financial liabilities, the auditor's knowledge of the board of directors, the management plans and the accompanying the financial statements, whether the auditor is of the opinion that as on the date of the audit report, no material uncertainty exists, that the company is capable of meeting its liabilities as and when they fall due within a period of 1 year from the balance sheet date. 1 year liquidity check. Does the company have enough money to pay off its liabilities for the next 1 year? Right, that is clause 19 of the CARO. That is clause 19 of the CARO. What is clause 12? Array, what is clause 12? Nidhi company. Right? Nidhi company net own funds to deposits in the ratio of 1:20. Then at least 10% of the investments of the Nidhi company in the unencumbered term deposits, and whether the Nidhi company has made any default in the repayments of deposits or in the payment of the interest thereof. Right? Then clause 13, related parties. Whether transactions with the related parties, are they in compliance with the provisions of section 177 and 188, and whether the details have been disclosed in the financial statements in accordance with the applicable accounting standards. Okay. Clause 14. Clause 14, whether the company has an internal audit system which is commensurate with the size and nature of its business, and whether the reports of the internal auditor for the period covered under audit have they been considered by the statutory auditor, right? So internal audit system and internal audit report. Okay, right. Then after that, what is clause 10b? Whether any preferential allotment or private placement of shares or fully or partially or optionally convertible debentures have been made during the year. One, whether it is in compliance with the provisions of section 42 and 62, and second, whether the amount has it been used for the purpose for which it has been raised. If not, the non-compliance, and also the amount which has to be indicated. Okay, right. What is clause 9c? What is clause 9c of the CARO? Whether the term loans, have they been applied for the purpose for which they have been obtained? Whether the term loans, have they been applied for the purpose for which they have been obtained? Clause 11 is regarding the fraud. Clause 15, it is regarding the non-cash transaction. And whether the company has entered into any non-cash transactions with the directors or the persons connected therewith, whether it is in compliance with section, yes, whether it is in compliance with section 192 of the Companies Act 2013. Okay, right. So those are the revisions, a quick revision regarding few of the clauses of the CARO. Right. Let us also quickly look into section 138, applicability of internal audit. Which companies need to appoint the internal auditor? Listed companies always. Apart from listed companies, unlisted public companies having deposits of more than or equal to 25 crore, or having the paid up share capital of more than or equal to 50 crore at any, at the end of the preceding financial year, or having the borrowings of more than 100 crore at any point of time during the preceding financial year, or having the turnover of more than or equal to 200 crore during the preceding financial year. And for private company, any one of the two, borrowings or turnover. And borrowings of more than 100 crore or turnover of more than equal to 200 crore. Lot of questions seen in the exam for the applicability of section 138, which is regarding the internal audit. Right? The applicability of section 138, which is regarding the internal audit. Okay, wonderful, good job. Okay, right. So one of the again important area where question is coming in the exam is regarding the, yes, what you say, the CARO 2020. Okay, right. So we have not made any reference to the notes so far, but yeah, so now let us come. So whichever author, whichever, even if we are studying from the study material of ICAR, that's absolutely great. But let us just quickly go through this chapter of the emerging areas. The chapter of the emerging areas, which is your sustainable development goals and the ESG assurance. Okay. Before I come to this chapter, because you are, in, communication with a teacher right now, let us try to analyze. Okay, we have, like, if you study from our books, you have module 1 and module 2 and module 3. Module 3 is regarding MCQ. Module 1 is mainly your 46 standards, and then you also have the risk assessment and internal control chapter over there, जहाँ पे COSO है, COCO है ना, Sarbanes-Oxley Act and ICOFR, and then the combined code and COBIT is there. Okay, right? An international internal control framework. In module 2, it starts from chapter number 12, which is regarding DA, digital auditing and assurance. Then 13 is GA. Who is GA? Group audit. 14 is regarding BA and NA. What is BA and NA? bank audit and NBFC audit. 15 is PA. What is PA? Public sector undertaking audit. 16 is internal audit. 17 is, your FA. What is your FA? Forensic accounting, due diligence and investigation. 18 is the SDG and the ESG assurance, SDG and the ESG assurance. And 19 is your professional ethics and the liabilities and the auditor. अभी गॉड प्रॉमिस सच्ची सच्ची मुझे बताओ कि इसमें से कितना तुम लोगों ने पढ़ लिया है ना. Digital auditing and assurance, group audit, bank audit, NBFC audit, public sector undertaking audit, that is your government audit, internal audit, forensic accounting, due diligence, investigation, SDG, ESG assurance and ethics. और यहाँ पे 46 स्टैंडर्ड. इतना ही तो सिलेबस है. इतना तो बोलो ही मत. नहीं बोलती. क्या हाल है? क्या प्लान है? Are you able to chalk out कि after this classes discussion on YouTube is over, these are the topics I'm going to study, these are the particular points I would like to see. %39%. I don't know how you got that 39, but yeah, good analysis. I would say put it that way. What is this? It's a different Saregama Pa of audit. Okay, right. So, anyways, I just wanted to give you a recall to you of the chapters which are there. Right. So let us quickly come to sustainable development goals and the ESG. ये chapter में ना basically क्या पता होना चाहिए? You have to know the 17 sustainable development goals. Then you have to know the 6 C's of the integrated reporting. है ना? इस पे आजकल MCQ में भी बहुत question चल रहा है ना? The 6 capitals for the integrated reporting, and you also have to know the principles of the BRSR. This is the basic content of this chapter you should be aware about. And ethics done for you. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Wonderful. But सिर्फ ethics नहीं, अब आगे बढ़ाना पड़ेगा गाड़ी. ठीक है. And 17 sustainable development goals, then the 6 C's of integrated reporting, and the 9 principles of the BRSR. Okay. Can anybody tell me the 6 C's of the integrated reporting? And those of you who've probably done a class with me or seen a YouTube video on this particular topic chapter, right? You know what are the 6 C's of fishermen. No, not fishermen. These are fishermen. And a financial capital, intellectual capital, social capital. Then after that, you human capital, manufacture capital, and the natural capital. Exam में तो ऐसे भी question पूछ रहे हैं कि company is having the capital equipment. So then you say, oh, capital equipment, that means it is their manufactured capital. Then they say, yeah, they are doing a lot of CSR work. Then you say, yeah, that is their social capital. Then they say, have a lot of, what do you say? They have a lot of patents. Then you say that's their intellectual capital. Then they've raised a lot of funds. So that is their financial capital. They are doing a lot of employee welfare. So that is their human capital. And they are doing proper utilization of the resources. So that's their natural capital. Right? So one discussion which we have over there is regarding the 6 C's of the integrated reporting. Right? That is your fishman. What is the fishman that we have over there? Right? The fishman that we have over there, FISHMN. Right, the financial capital, then after that the intellectual capital, then the social capital, human capital, manufactured capital, and the natural capital, right? So one important question over there, right? Then the global scenario in the various countries and how ESG evolved in India, right? So recommended integrated reporting for top 500 listed companies. Recently, they put this in your MCQ. SEBI issued a circular advising top 500 listed companies. तो वो एग्जाम में जो MCQ बना है, top 1000 listed company it is mandatory, top 1000 listed company it is voluntary, top 500 listed companies it is advised. So then you have to know the provision over here. Okay, integrated reporting माने क्या? Fishman, the 6 C's of integrated reporting is right now advised. That means it is voluntary for the top 500 listed companies. Then business responsibility reporting, the BRSR, 9 principles is mandatory for the top 1000 listed companies, right? It's mandatory for the top 1000 listed companies. And then under the BRSR, we have the 3 disclosures: general disclosure, management disclosures, and the principle-wise performance disclosure. So general, management, and the principle-wise. Under principle-wise, you have the essential indicators and the leadership indicator. Essential is mandatory and leadership is optional disclosure. So again, an important point for you to remember. So general disclosure, management disclosure, principle-wise. Principle-wise में आता है essential indicators and the leadership indicators. Essential indicators are mandatory, whereas leadership indicators are optional. And then you have the 9 principles of the BRSR. To do the reporting of the business responsibility, sustainability reporting, we sit in the correcta car. Why in the correcta car? Because the point over there is the ETA. What is ETA? Ethics, transparency, and the accountability. In an exam, they are giving a situation, a case study. The company is having policies and procedures to give the transparent disclosures, value chain. So it says which principle of BRSR is being addressed and what are the core elements of that principle. मतलब केस स्टडी के बेसिस पे आपको ढूंढना है कि आउट ऑफ द 9 प्रिंसिपल which principle are they talking about. So they are not going to give you के write down the elements of ETA. And that could also be a possibility. But अभी जो एग्जाम्स में क्वेश्चन देखे गए वो रिवर्स कि they are giving one of this point and they say which principle of BRSR is the company covering and what are the core elements of that principle. And so you have to know the principle and also what are the core elements. So first you have to sit in the correcta car. In the correcta car, ETA, ethics, transparency and accountability. Right? कि पहले तो आपके business में ethics, transparency and accountability. When will you say कि oh we are very ethical, very accountable? Finally, as an economical organization, you are dealing in certain goods and services. So your goods and services should be safe and sustainable goods and services. Right? So number 1, ETA. After ETA, you have the goods and services. Then after the goods and services, it says now you need to take care of 3 people. 1, you need to take care of your employees. Then you need to take care of your stakeholders. And then you also need to take care of the human rights. Right? So employees, then after that you have the stakeholders. After the stakeholders, more broader, human rights. Then after people are over, you come to the environment. After the environment, now you are in such an influential position that you try to influence the public and the regulatory policy. And finally, who is the, yes, what does it say? By trying to influence the policy or trying to bring the inclusive growth and the equitable development. And finally, who is the king? It is the consumer. So providing value to the consumer in a responsible manner. Right, so let us try to create, because you can't change the sequence of these 9 principles of the BRSR. Right, so what is the first principle? You're going to sit in the ETA car. So ethics, transparency and the accountability. Then provide the safe and sustainable goods and services. Then after that, you're going to take care of your employees. You're going to respect your stakeholders. You're also going to protect and promote the human rights. Then you're not only going to be concerned about the people, you're also going to be concerned about the environment. Right? Then for that, now because you are in a powerful position, you'll also try to influence the policy through which you will try to bring the inclusive growth and the equitable development. And finally, who is the king? Consumer is the king. Right? So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9 principles of the BRS. Right, clear everyone? So one of the areas when nowadays question is coming in the exam is from the 9 principles of the BRSR. Okay, right, then methodology to provide assurance in the BRSR. Right, so this is again a question there in your RTP or MPP for November 24. Right, methodology to provide the assurance. So again a 5-star question. So 1, preliminary review. After preliminary review, on-site review. After the on-site review, you issue the assessment report. Then based on your preliminary assessment report, you will get the responses. Based on the responses, now you will submit your findings. And then finally, you will issue the final verification report. Right? So again, an important question of methodology to provide assurance in the BRSR. Right? So one preliminary review, then on-site review, then after that the preliminary report, then after the report you will also receive the response to that report, then after the response you submit your finding, and finally you prepare your verification report, the final verification report. Right. Also, ICAR has issued the social audit standards, right? You have the social audit standards. Now, this is when you are doing the assurance for BRSR. But when I'm doing my statutory audit, true and fair audit, in that true and fair audit, will I consider climate related risk? Risk. Will I consider climate related risk? Yes. What is the role of the auditor? To obtain reasonable assurance, SA 200. So when I'm understanding the entity, SA 315, I will also understand the climate related risk. Now, these climate related risks, I may want to mention about this in my audit report also. Where can I mention about it in my audit report? Under the emphasis of matter paragraph. And I will also read the other information. So that is SA 720. Emphasis of matter paragraph, that is SA 706. Right, so audit consideration. Okay, and a part of your statutory audit, do you consider climate related risk? Yes, you would consider the climate related risk also. My suggestion to you would be that you please go through this particular case study. The same case study is there in the study material of the ICAR. है ना, ऐसे चैप्टर्स को इग्नोर नहीं करना है, ये चैप्टर्स फरिश्ते हैं, है ना. एक लिमिटेशन है कि एथिक्स से कितना स्कोर आएगा, पर्टिकुलर बैंक ऑडिट या जो भी कारो से या व्हाटएवर स्टैंडर्ड्स यू कवर्ड उसमें कितना स्कोर आएगा. ये ना मतलब अपना जो गैप होता है 48 से 51 का, या जो 143 आ गया और जो 7 मार्क्स कम पड़ गए, तो वो FR, FM, whatever it is, you say, ma'am, I just lost my previous attempt by 7 marks or 10 marks or 6 marks, and then you're studying the subject again, writing again, you say, ma'am, don't talk about all of that. Cannot talk, no problem. Okay, but then yeah, this is one of the common mistake done by the students. They are ready to take the risk which they should not be taking. ये रिस्क नहीं लेना आपका, आज बैठ के पढ़ो ना. प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वही वापस पढ़ रहे हो. टेकिंग में जो कंप्लायंस ऑडिट का, परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट का, प्रोप्राइटी ऑडिट का क्वेश्चन आ रहा है, पढ़ के जाओ ना. प्रॉब्लम क्या है तुमको? You want to become a CA ना, then you can decide कि what question I will study and you make me a CA. No, you can't tell that to ICAR. Your approach, आज तक सब ठीक है. Then after that, once you write your exam, you're again flying in the sky. Again results come down, again you are, all पूरी हवा निकल जाती है. Then again one day before the exam, totally charged up. Is it not a vicious cycle? Last attempt 11 marks, yeah, audit 36. Audit is the villain of group 1 or of CA final, also in CA inter. But I always say कि villain के बिना movie में मजा नहीं है. If there is only no Amrish Puri in the movie, there's not going to be any fun in the spice over there, right? So yeah, somebody has to play the role of the villain also. Only then the hero will have its significance. So please don't study with convenience. Don't study what you like. No, don't do any analysis. Just study it all. ये chapters इनको देख के बुरा लगता, मतलब ऐसे they look dangerous, but they are very scoring. Some people you find, oh, I thought you, but when you actually talk to that person, you come to know they are so polite. Don't go, don't judge a book by its cover, that type. Okay, right? चलो, we have to discuss so much further. किधर बातें करने लग गए? ठीक है. Okay, right. So look at your question bank. Isn't it beautiful? एकदम चैप्टर वाइज, टॉपिक वाइज, द एंटायर कंटेंट. इधर उधर भटकने का काम ही नहीं है. ये एक बुक पढ़ लो, ऑल सेट. Okay, nice. So then after that you have the ESG, the Sustainable Development Goals. Again they are asking the question. So 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Even the 7th, 8th standard students, they have this in their syllabus. Even there in CA final. So number 1, all countries have to achieve this by 2030. It's to make it a reality. And number 1 Sustainable Development Goal over there is N. What is N? No poverty. 1N. You can see 1. उसको आगे ऐसा कर दो, so it becomes N. No poverty. Obviously, if there is no poverty, it will lead to zero hunger. Everybody will be able to have the square meal in a day. Obviously, if there is zero hunger, then there will be good health and the well-being. So number one, and no poverty. If no poverty, that means you are able to have the food. That means there is zero hunger. If there is zero hunger, obviously you have the good health and the well-being. Then apart from the zero hunger, no poverty, good health and the well-being, it says now there has to be the quality education, and that too quality education for all. Right? So gender equality. Right? So quality education. Now that your stomach is filled, you can put content in your brain. So it has to be the education, and education not only for the boys but also for the girls. Then apart from the education, what is required is the clean water and the clean energy. So now there is what you say, food, there is education, there is clean water, clean energy. Then it will lead to decent work and economic growth, which will lead to industry innovation and the infrastructure. Once there is the industry innovation infrastructure, that is going to reduce the inequality. Once inequalities are reduced, it will lead to the sustainable cities, it will lead to the responsible consumption, it will lead to the climate action. Right? Then it says you have to think not only of yourself but also of the life below water and the life on the land. And then you have to say loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So it says peace, justice, and strong institution. And for that, there has to be the partnership for the goals. Right? So it says life below water, life on land, peace, partnership, justice, and strong institution, and the partnership for the goals. Right? So this is basic of what you need to remember in this particular chapter. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the 6 C's of the integrated reporting, and the 9 principles of the BRSR. Wonderful. Right. Then after that, let us come to the chapter above that, which is regarding the due diligence, investigation, and the forensic accounting. Right. Forensic accounting, process of forensic accounting. So process, we always say OPC, and objective procedure and the conclusion. So one, initialization. After the initialization, you develop the plan. Based on the plan, you obtain the evidence. Based on the evidence that you obtain, now you will perform the analysis. Again, a retail specific question asked only on this one in the exam. Based on the analysis, you will do the reporting, and based on the reporting, you will now use it as an evidence in the court of law. So you will use it in the court proceedings. Right? It will be used in the court proceedings, right? So that is the process, the steps involved in conducting the forensic accounting. Right. Then when the forensic accounting report is being prepared, very important in the forensic accounting report, there has to be the ALD. What is ALD? Assumptions, limitations, and the disclaimer. Okay, what assumptions have been made, what are the limitations on scope, and also what is the disclaimer. Right, so again, this is a separate question for your exam, which is regarding the assumptions, limitations, and the disclaimer. Right, in the forensic accounting report, the assumptions, limitations, and the disclaimer. Again, a favorite question of ICAI, difference between other audits and the forensic accounting. Right, so one we say why OTP. What is OTP? Objective techniques and the period. Why OTP? Because you want to do the verification of the off-balance sheet item. Why you want to do the verification? Because if there is any adverse finding, you have a different mindset, and that will help you to decide the extent of the checking. So you should know the points on which you need to distinguish, and then you can write down the answer for the distinguish between the other audits and the forensic accounting. I think almost 3 times this question has come in your exam regarding the distinguish between the other audits versus the forensic accounting. Okay. Right. Then after the, you have the due diligence, investigation, right? The entire detailed discussion for this chapter, evaluation of a prospective business decision. One of the favorite questions of ICAI from due diligence is regarding the examples of the hidden liabilities and the overvalued assets. Right? That whether there are any hidden liabilities or the overvalued assets. Okay. Right. Then PSU, you have the, before PSU, chapter number 16. If I go in the reverse sequence, it is regarding the internal audit. Right, so internal, audit trail. They asked it in May 24 also. Right, so audit trail. What does it say? Audit trail, it's a visible trail of the evidence. So it's a visible trail of the evidence. Then it says it is also a chronological record. Right, chronological record. The audit trail may be enabled at the accounting software. Then you also want to check the internal control, and also records maintained as the audit trail may include the following information: when the changes were made, who made the changes, and what data was changed. Right? So audit trail, you also need to do the reporting under 143(3)(j). And under that, whether the company has an accounting software which has an audit trail feature, whether it was operated throughout the year, not tampered with, and it has been preserved as per the statutory requirements for the record retention. And in your May 24 exam, they asked this question: the illustrative list of the internal control, that whether who has the access to the audit trail, whether the backups of the audit trail have been taken, then who can make the changes to the configuration, then it has not been disabled and it has been assigned, the user IDs have been assigned to each individual. Right? So access to audit trail, periodic backups, then changes to configuration, it has not been disabled and user IDs are assigned to each individual and the user IDs are not shared. Right? So again, that's an important question regarding the audit trail. Right? That's an important question regarding the audit trail. Okay. Right? Then monitoring on the prior period internal audit issues, then the contents and format of the internal audit report. Again, you can just quickly go through this particular question regarding the contents and format of the internal audit report. Again, recently a question seen in your exams regarding the integrity, objectivity, and the independence of the internal auditor. Like statutory auditor, he has to maintain integrity, objectivity, independence. Like that, even the internal auditor, he has to be free from undue influences. He has to resist undue pressure. So for that, he has to be higher in the organization structure. Right? He should be honest, truthful, and a person of high integrity, and he should operate in a highly objective manner. Right? So that's the integrity, objectivity, and the independence of the internal auditor. Okay. Right? With respect to accounting function and financial records, what are the responsibilities of the internal auditor? So if you look into your recent MTP, RTP, you see a question regarding this. Okay, what is the role of the internal auditor with regard to the accounting and financial records? So one, they have to check the adequacy of system of internal control. For that, they have to operate independently. So for that, they should not be involved in the executive function. What they have to do, review the, appraise the policy, keep their knowledge up to date, and for all that, they have to maintain the independent status. Right? They have to maintain the independent status. Okay. Right? We've already discussed the applicability of section 138. Right. Then above that, you have the chapter of the PSU, that is the audit of the public sector undertaking, right? So wherein you have the principles of financial propriety. Right? So what is propriety? That there should be no unnecessary, improper, avoidable, wasteful expenditure. Right? So what does it say? Expenditure should not be prima facie more than what the occasion demands. No authority should exercise power which is for its own advantage. Public money should not be used for the benefit of a particular person or a group of persons. And the public money should not be a source of profit to the recipient. Right? The allowances given to the government employee should not be a source of profit to the recipient. So these are the principles of the financial propriety. Right? Principles of the financial propriety. Okay. Right. So as time might permit us, we will come to the other chapters also. But before that, let me just quickly come to this 800 series onwards. Right, so I think we'll start it in the reverse way, wherein we'll start with 4410, which is regarding the compilation engagement. Because you look at the question bank at the end of the chapter, relatively 4410, बहुत सारा question आया है exam में. You see around 9 questions you see in the question bank regarding the 4410. Are you surviving with me? Ma'am, today so we'll have to survive. No, ma'am. Other days we wouldn't have tolerated, ma'am, the speed. Oh, yeah. You say, ma'am, today we can't form opinion on you. Okay. Yes, are you with me? You're going to study, right, for the rest of the day also. So is it giving you a direction? Yeah. What about the others? Yes, you're going to get those 11. Abhi, itna you will be in that revenge approach ke get 22 marks from ICF. And extra. not only 22, but you missed by 11, no? So now you know, have that kid now 22. You know, I've seen students, you know, they don't understand the concept of margin of safety. They say, ma'am, I think, you know, I wrote the paper and I thought that I will get 50. I prepared for 50. How can you not keep a margin? You think that you will get 50 and do you think ICA will give you exactly 50? The probability is very less. Little bit prepare, no, for 60, 70. So that even though if you fall down by 5, 10 marks also, you are under, you know, a safety net over there. It's still that your 50 is not affected. And you keep it at 50 and then 45 comes and then some other subject 48 comes. My God, what type of a failure? Okay. Right. So yeah, this is the book, you know. So these documents, it is the edition of the book which I'm discussing. So yeah, I could not be able to share these documents. If you purchase the classes, then along with that you get those books. But I wish that that time should not come. Okay. Right. So anyways, let us come to the discussion of the SRS 4410. Yes, which is regarding the, yes, what is it regarding the compilation engagement? Yes, 1000% attention required, everyone. Compilation engagement. So what is compilation engagement? Wherein you are assisting the management to prepare the financial statements, wherein you are applying your accounting and financial reporting expertise. Why is management appointing a CA to compile their financial information? One, say it is mandatory, or second, it is not mandatory, but because it is required by the management, or it is required by a third party, or it is required for some transactional purpose. Again, recently they put this question. Okay, when would management require their financial information to be compiled? One, it could be mandatory. Second, it could be voluntary. Voluntary hai, so why? Because it is required by management, or it is required by an external party, or it is required for some transactional purposes. Okay. Right, so you have to apply your accounting financial reporting expertise and assist management in the preparation of the financial statements. Do you need to comply with the code of ethics? Yes. Independence, voluntary. Why voluntary? Because you are not expressing any opinion. Okay. Right. Now, engagement acceptance. Now, ये जितने standards है ना, in the beginning of the class, what I told you today, that you have the 800, 805, 810. You have the 2400, 2410, 3400, 3402, 3420. 4400, 4410. If I have to give you a basic outline of these 10 standards over here, in all these 10 standards, basically you have to address 3 types of situations. What are the 3 situations? APR. What is APR? Acceptance, engagement letter, considerations while accepting the engagement. Then planning, performing the procedures. प्लानिंग एंड परफॉर्मिंग दैट मीन्स अभी ये एंगेजमेंट परफॉर्म करने के लिए व्हाट आर द प्रोसीजर्स व्हिच आर गोइंग टू बी परफॉर्म्ड बाय यू एंड फाइनली कमिंग टू द रिपोर्टिंग द कंक्लूजन द रिपोर्ट टू बी इश्यूड. So when all these standards that you study, you basically have to address 3 questions: acceptance, planning, performing, reporting. Acceptance, planning, performing, reporting. जैसे यहाँ पे देखो engagement, acceptance. Then after the acceptance, they talk about the performing, and after the performing, they talk about the report. हर एक ये 10 standard है ना, ये 10 standard का same format है. Acceptance, planning, performing, reporting. Acceptance, planning, performing, and the reporting. So one, you have to check for the acceptance. Okay, for what purpose? What is the intended use and distribution? Then you have to identify the AFRF as per which the financial information is to be compiled. Then what is the objective and scope? Then again, responsibilities of the CA, responsibilities of the management. Responsibilities of the management again could be asked as a separate question. Okay, you know, preparation of financial statements, management your responsibility. Internal control, management your responsibility. Accuracy, completeness of records, documents, explanation, other information, management your responsibility. Judgments needed, management your responsibility. So records, documents, explanation, other information, significant judgment, all this, even in case of a compilation engagement, whose responsibility? It is the responsibility of the management. records, documents, explanation, other information, significant judgment, all that responsibility of the management. Right? Then expected form and content of the report. Now you come to the procedure. What is procedure? Always procedure number one, KOC. Knowledge of the client's business. Here you have to have two knowledge of the business and knowledge of the AFRF. Knowledge of the business and knowledge of the AFRF. Then now practitioner, you are going to compile the information on the basis of same records, documents, explanation, other information and significant judgment. Then after compile, you're going to discuss what the significant judgment. So first you compile, then you discuss, then you read. Then after you given to the auditor is incomplete, inaccurate or otherwise unsatisfactory, request the management to give you the additional or the corrected information. If they fail to provide, you say bye, withdraw from the engagement. Withdraw from the engagement. Have they asked a sub case study in your exam on this situation? Yes. You say, ma'am, now we are feeling, oh, we should have listened to all of this before. I am teaching SRS 4410 right now. Diya, okay? Right. So 4410 compilation engagement, right? Is it clear to everyone? It's not difficult. It's just that you are not reading it only. Right? So what does it say? Knowledge of the client, knowledge of the AFRF. Then you start compiling based on records, documents, explanation, other information, significant judgments. You discuss the significant judgments. You read the compiled information. You come to know, oh, information is incomplete. It is inaccurate, unsatisfactory. You request management to provide you with the additional information. They say no. You say bye. You withdraw from the engagement. If they make the amendments, wonderful. If they don't make the amendments, then you withdraw from the engagement. And who has to take the responsibility for the final version of the information? Obviously, the management, right? The management has to take the responsibility for the final version of the compiled information. Right? Then 4400 is regarding the agreed upon procedures. Agreed upon procedures, you issue the report of the factual finding. Right? Report of the factual finding. Neither an audit nor a review. No assurance is being provided. Right? No assurance is being provided. Right? So what are the examples of the other than assurance engagement? Preparation of tax return, consulting advisory services, or the engagements covered by this SRS. Right? So those are the examples of the other engagement, other than assurance engagement. Okay. Right. Then after that, we come to the SAE series, that is 3400, 340, 3420. And 3400, it is regarding the examination of the prospective financial information. So whenever I talk about the PFI, SAE 3400, the prospective financial information. Prospective financial information is based on the assumptions. So one, you need to check best estimate assumptions, are they reasonable? Hypothetical assumptions, are they consistent with the purpose of the information? Right? Are they consistent? And then you need to check whether the prospective financial information, is it properly prepared based on the assumption? Is it properly prepared based on the assumption? Right? So you want to check the assumption. Right? So it could be best estimate assumption or the hypothetical assumption. Right? What does it say? It will not apply to the information given in general or narrative terms. It has to be financial information. Whose responsibility? Prospective financial information. Obviously, it is the responsibility of the management. What is auditor's responsibility? To check best estimate assumption, hypothetical assumption, whether prospective is properly prepared based on the assumptions, whether assumptions are adequately disclosed, and is it consistent with the historical financial statements? Is it consistent with the historical financial statements? That's what I said. Best estimate assumption, reasonable. Hypothetical, are they consistent? And is the prospective properly prepared based on the assumption? Are the assumptions adequately disclosed? And is it on a consistent basis? Then again, a favorite question of the ICAI, acceptance of the engagement. What did I tell you? Every standard, what you have to study? RPAR. What is RAPR? Acceptance, planning, performing, reporting. Acceptance, planning, performing, and the reporting. Right. So now acceptance, what you have to check? What is the period covered? What is the intended use of the information? Then also whether the information will be general or for limited distribution. What is the nature of the assumption and the elements to be included in the information? So we say PIINE. And okay, what period? Are they preparing prospective financial information up to 2150? How can they do that? So 5-year, 3-year, period covered, intended use, information, nature of assumption, and also the elements to be included. Then talking about the procedure. What is the procedure? Again, a separate question. What does it say? One, you have to obtain the knowledge of the client's business. Then you have to check the competence of the management. You have to check the management bias, if any. The management's judgment. So you're going to check management's competence. You're going to check management's judgment. Then you're going to check for the likelihood. Generally, we say RMM. Here we are going to say LMM. Likelihood of material misstatement and also the stability of the entity's business. Most important procedure, the sources of information. कि ये 20% assumption कहाँ से लिया? The sources of information and the engagement team experience. Because doing a prospective financial information checking is not a daily task. It's once in a while. It's once in a while. So number 1 point, KOC. Then after KOC, management's competence, management's judgment. Then the stability of the entity's business, likelihood of material misstatement, sources of information, and the engagement team experience. And then finally we come to the reporting. In the reporting, what does it say? Auditor, you have to clearly mention, right? CA, you have to mention that the engagement has been done as per the SAE. That management's responsibility, purpose and restricted use of the prospective financial information, that the checking was done on the test basis. Yes, negative assurance. Then what does it say? You also give the opinion that whether it is properly prepared and a warning and a caveat that actual information may be different, right? That the actual outcome may be different. Okay, right? So that is 3400, which is regarding your prospective financial information. Then you have these two standards, 402 and the SAE 3402. And 402 is regarding the service organization. So whenever auditor, you come to know that your client has done service organization, you're going to look into the significance of the services provided by the service organization, the materiality of the transaction, the degree of interaction between user entity and the service organization, and the nature of the relationship between the user entity and the service organization. And then service auditor, that is SAE 3402. You have to check what is the applicable suitable criteria. So here what could be the suitable criteria? If it is a type 2 report, it is going to be the description, design and the operating effectiveness of the control. The description, design and the OE, that is the operating effectiveness of the control. That whether the control description of the system, is it properly given? Whether the controls have they been suitably designed? The controls have operated effectively throughout the period. And for that, auditor, you have to give the reasonable assurance. Right? Auditor, you have to give the reasonable assurance. Then you also have the 3420, which is regarding your pro forma financial information. Pro forma. What is pro forma? Just like. And some event or transaction has taken place at a later date. But had it taken place at an earlier date, what would your financial information look like as pro forma financial information? Right? So you have the unadjusted financial information plus the pro forma adjustment is equal to pro forma financial information. Right? So unadjusted financial information, you can get it from the historical financial statement. Pro forma adjustment is the event or transaction. And then you need to check pro forma financial information. Is it properly prepared based on the applicable criteria? Right? Is it okay? Are you able to obtain the reasonable assurance? है ना कि तुमने एक कंपनी को अक्वायर किया 30th सितंबर को, बट अगर कंपनी को 31st मार्च पे अक्वायर किया होता, मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने किया कब है 30th सितंबर, बट अगर अक्वायर किया होता 31st मार्च, आपकी फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन कैसे दिखती? दैट इज प्रो फॉर्मा फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन, है ना, प्रो फॉर्मा, जस्ट लाइक फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन, है ना. If an event or transaction had it taken place at an earlier date selected for the purpose of presentation, that information is called as pro forma financial information. Right, then after SAE 3420, we come to the SRE 2400 and 2410. When person doing audit and review are one, then it is 2410. And when the uncle who is doing the audit and the uncle who is doing the review are alag, then it is 2400. Like PwC is doing audit and KPMG is doing review, then 2400. PwC is doing audit and PwC is only doing the review also of interim financial information, June, September, December, then that is 2410. Right. What type of an assurance is given in case of review engagement? Limited assurance. And a limited assurance given in the form of a negative assurance. Okay, nothing has come to our attention that causes us to believe that the financial statements do not give a true and fair. And nothing has come to our attention. And mainly the procedures followed are the inquiry and analytical procedures. Right? Inquiry and analytical procedures. In an audit, we give an audit opinion. In a review, we give a review conclusion. Audit में हम audit opinion देते हैं. In a review, you don't give a review opinion. You give a review conclusion. So in my audit, if my opinion is modified, it could be qualified opinion, adverse opinion, or disclaimer of opinion. Here it could be qualified conclusion, adverse conclusion, or disclaimer of conclusion. Right, same parameters of 705, but instead of opinion, here it is the conclusion. Right, qualified, adverse, or the disclaimer of the conclusion. Right, so again, inquiry analytical. Then there is a question, okay, why inquiry analytical? Then how do you update your understanding of the entity and its environment? Right, so those are a few questions regarding the 2400 and the 2410. And now let us come to the last set over there, which is regarding the 800 series, right? 800 series. Let us come to the essay 81. Right? Like I told you this question, why inquiry analytical procedures? Then how you update your understanding of the entity and its environment. Right, you have the compass, the engagements to report on the summary financial statements. So summary financial statements, number one rule, it has to be the same auditor. Only the auditor who has given the audit report on the audited financial statements, only that auditor can issue a report on the summary financial statements. And second, for the summary financial statements, you have to check what is the applied criteria. And what is applied criteria? Oh my God, it is the criteria applied. Beautiful, no? What is applied criteria? It is the criteria applied by the management in the preparation of the summary financial statements. Right, so applied criteria. One, I told you it has to be the same auditor, and second, you have to check what is the applied criteria. Okay, right. Again, what are APR? Acceptance, planning, performing, and reporting. So acceptance before accepting an engagement. One, you have to check the management, right? The factors affecting the determination of the, like in SA 210 of AFRF. Here we say acceptability of the applied criteria. Okay, whatever criteria the management is applying in the preparation of the summary financial statement, is that criteria acceptable to the auditor? That depends on the nature of the entity. Again, the purpose, the information needs of the intended user, and it should not lead into the information which is misleading, right? So it should not be misleading. So nature of entity, the purpose, the information needs of the users, and also it should not be misleading. So you have 3N over there. Nature, then also it talks about the needs of the intended users. It should not be misleading, and the purpose of the SFS, right? The purpose of the summary financial statements, right? Once you check for the acceptability of the applied criteria, now you get an agreement from the management regarding their responsibility. What agreement you will get from the management? That preparation of summary financial statements in accordance with applied criteria, management for responsibility. To make audited financial statements available without undue difficulty, management your responsibility. And wherever you are going to say, oh, our auditor has given a report on summary financial statements, the report should be attached. That again is the management responsibility, right? So to prepare summary financial statements, to make audited financial statements available without undue difficulty, and to include the report on the summary, all these three are the responsibilities of the management. Then after that, now we talk about the procedures. Again a 5-star question. Procedure number 1 कि मेरे हाथ में अभी क्या है? Summary financial statement, छोटू financial statement. When I will check these छोटू financial statements, do they adequately disclose that they are छोटू? Do they adequately disclose their summarized nature? Do they adequately disclose the applied criteria? Then whether they also disclose from whom or where the audited are available, unless law regulation says that they need not be made available. Then after that, now you do the actual procedure कि जो भी छोटू में financial information आ रहा है, you check it from the मोटू. Then compare the summary financial statements from the audited financial statements. Check whether summary is prepared in accordance with the applied criteria. Right, then just check कि summary करने के चक्कर में कहीं over summary तो नहीं हो गया कि is it at an appropriate level of the aggregation, and again whether audited are made available to the intended users. Again a very important question. Point number 1, what does it say? Summary financial statements, do they adequately disclose their summarized nature? Do they adequately disclose the applied criteria? Then whether audited financial statements have been made available. Then are they really available where they are said to be made available? Then summary financial statements, you compare with the audited financial statements. You check whether summary is properly prepared based on the applied criteria. Are they at an appropriate level of the aggregation? Right? Are they at an appropriate level of the aggregation? Right? So what a very important, procedure question over here. And procedures to be performed in case of the summary financial statement. And then after that, your reporting. In case of a compliance framework, and in case of fair presentation framework, it is a fair summary. And what if the auditor's opinion on the audited financial statements is qualified or adverse or disclaimer? Right? One, it says auditor's opinion. This is again a recent question. Okay, if the auditor's opinion on the audited financial statements is adverse or disclaimer, now in your summary report, you will mention that the audit report on audited contains an adverse or a disclaimer. Second, you copy paste the basis for adverse or disclaimer opinion paragraph. And because the auditor's opinion on the audited financial statements is audited, mote financial statement status, adverse or disclaimer, you say it is inappropriate to express an opinion on the summary financial statement. Right? It is inappropriate to express an opinion on the summary financial statement. Okay, right? So when the auditor's opinion on the audited financial statements is adverse or disclaimer, state that the report contains a adverse disclaimer, copy paste the basis paragraph and state that it is inappropriate to express an opinion on the summary financial statements. Obviously, all related questions for 810, right? Some 4 questions are there. All of them have, right, nature of procedures to be performed. right? The procedures which are discussed with you right now. And then after that, you have the SA 805, wherein you are doing an audit of a tukda and a part of the financial statement, single financial statement, specific element, account, or item. So now to do the audit of the part, sometimes it may not be practicable. Why it may not be practicable? Because you don't have the same understanding. You are not able to obtain the evidence regarding the general quality of the accounting records. And just to check a tukda, you have to do so much work. So you say it might be disproportionate. So in that case, you say that, oh, doing an audit of a tukda is not practicable. So either you tell the management to change it to another type of engagement. है ना, so sometimes doing they are saying सिर्फ debtor का audit करके दो, सिर्फ inventory का audit करके दो, टुकड़ा है ना. So you say it may not be practicable. Why it may not be practicable? Because you don't have the same understanding. You don't have evidence regarding the general quality of the accounting records. Then you say the work which will be required to be done is disproportionate. So you may request the management to change it to another type of engagement. Next, you may request the management to change it to another type of engagement, and then again forming an opinion and so. And then last one over there is your SA 800, which is regarding your special purpose framework. And okay, in that you have to put an emphasis of matter paragraph in your report saying that restriction on the distribution or use. If this report, prepared as per US GAAP or some bank format or so, it is prepared only for a specific set of the users. And it is not intended for, not suitable for another purpose. That it is prepared only for a specific purpose, only for a specific set of users, and as a result, it may not be suitable for the another purpose. Okay, right. So again, as a concluding remark for the class, I would like to mention to you for the third time, please ensure that you have covered these 10 new standards properly. Right, then apart from that, you can also quickly go through the ESG, SDG, which we discussed right now, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the 6 P's of the integrated reporting, the capital, and after that also the 9 principles of the BRSR. What does each principle talk about and what are the 4 elements of that principle? Okay, apart from that, you can go through forensic accounting, bank, and then like 570, 550 other important standards over there. And please ensure that you go through the MTP, RTP, the suggested, and also solve a few MCQs so that before you go into the exam hall, like how you sharpen your pencil, no, you can't go over there with a blunt pencil. Right? So you ensure that you have sharpened your pencil over there. At bank audit, I saw that in the recent past, they put a question regarding the audit procedures for CASA. And a CASA is your current account and your savings account. So current account in whose name it can be opened, savings account in whose name. Then you also check the, you also check the calculation of interest. Then new account opened during the year, inoperative accounts. Then whether any, dummy advances and dummy deposits have been shown. Right, so you need to do the audit procedures for the CASA, and then also the areas regarding the concurrent audit. Then lot of question also coming regarding the regarding the regarding the RBI prudential norm, wherein the account is out of order. There are no debits enough even to cover the no credits enough even to cover the interest debited during the period. So whether the account should be classified as performing or non-performing asset. Right? So those particular advance related जो भी question bank में question है, those you study rather than studying the entire content of the chapter. That is what you can study. Right? Then regarding contingent liabilities, what is the audit approach? Okay, what written representations are to be obtained from the management? Then yes, audit approach, and then also the KSCA, the key security control aspects in the IT environment. And the key security control aspects in the IT environment. Right, so these are a few topics in NBFC. You can look into the base layer, middle layer, upper layer, top layer, the categorization of NBFC. Right, those particular points over there. Right, so yeah, this is what probably I could probably what I could that this discussion has been beneficial for all of you, that it has given you enough amount of work for you to, be occupied and not move from your chair for the next 10 hours. Like till 12 o'clock in the night, now you would be busy studying over there. Yeah, so number 24, as such, we don't see any specific amendments which have come in the RTP also. So whatever May 24 highlights were there, you can, continue to use those same one over here also. Right, so yeah, wishing you all the very best and lots of wishes and good luck for your paper tomorrow. Do let me know how the exams have been and your results obviously on a later date, right? So my email ID rtn lahoti number 9 at the rate gmail.com, right? So without taking any further time of yours, wishing you all the very best for your exams, and thank you so much for your patient listening. Bye bye, and please continue studying. Thank you. Thank you so much.